through 12, which is found on page 2 of the New Testament section of your Pew Bible. In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem asking, "Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed his star at its rising, and we have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for so it has been written by the prophet, and you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel." And then Herod secretly called for the wise men and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child. And when you have found him, bring me word so that I may also go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out. And there ahead of them went the star that they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. And then opening their treasure chest, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road. May the Lord bless the reading and the hearing of his holy word. Henry did a good job getting us ready for what Epiphany is for this season in the church. It can be defined as a manifestation of Christ to the Gentiles, to us, as represented by the Magi. The church observes the coming of the Magi on January the 6th. Epiphany is also a moment when you suddenly realize something new, or you realize something in a clear way for the first time. In thinking about the wise men, do you ever wonder what happened to them when they went back home? Do you think they lived happily ever after? Do you wonder if their lives were changed after their journey? After the shimmering splendor of the star's light and the wonder and mystery of having now, at last, finally, peering into the center of their heart's desire, after all that, did it make a difference back at home on the mundane Monday morning when they had to take the garbage out? When they had to change the baby's diapers? When they had to balance the checkbook? When they had to pay the bills, and maybe there wasn't enough there? When they had to attend the meetings? When they had to drive the carpools? When they had to figure out the taxes? When they had to call on their clients? When they had to go to the dentist for their annual checkup? When they planned the birthday party? And all the 1,001 things that it takes to live. After all, the wise men had followed a star, and they were exceedingly joyful in their journey's end. But was it really their journey's end? Since it was necessary for them to return to their own country? They did not remain in the royal beauty bright of the star, but being warned in a dream of Herod's deadly intentions, They returned to their homes by a different way. But what was life like for them afterwards, after they had seen the light? After the star in the cold light of day, after all, did that star really matter? And after the anticipation and the celebration and the wonder of the holy night, with the candles flickering and the smell of cedar and the songs of angels, does the spirit of Christmas burn away like the morning fog? When it's time to drag the tree out by the road, or put it in its box, and to straighten up the house and get back to school and return to work, are we not like the wise men going back home to their own country? In his poem, For the Time Being, W.H. Auden describes this post-Christmas mood as, well, so that's that. We've gotten through Christmas once again, perhaps in spite of ourselves, but it's over now. Once again, as in previous years, we have seen the actual vision and failed to do more than entertain it as an agreeable possibility. So it's back to the old world we left behind for just a bit on that amazing Christmas Eve, even here in this place. And perhaps that makes us weary. And yet the vision will not entirely go away. We almost wish it would, Auden concludes, to those who have seen the child, however dimly, however incredulously. The time being is, in a sense, the most trying time of all. What Auden describes is more subtle, more profound than what is popularly referred to as the after-Christmas blues. Like the wise men, for those who have seen the star, who have seen the light, it will not easily fade away. The sense of wonder, the capacity to dream, the joy of that holy night continues in each of our imaginations. The sense of wonder and the capacity to dream, the joy we knew in our hearts as we journeyed to Bethlehem to see what had come to pass, it won't easily go away. We still long to know it right here in the midst of our old routines, right here where we are and where we have always been, in a world that Christmas doesn't seem to have changed very much. Or could it be that our world is really Herod's world? We don't like to really talk about Herod in this story, but it's really inevitable. Is our world Herod's? Is it a Roman world rather than the mysterious Eastern world of the wise men? Are we not more children of Herod than descendants of those starry-eyed gazers, the wise men? Do we not seek order, decency, efficiency, and control of Herod rather than the unclear, vague, formless, mystical aspects of the wise men? Do we need that control? I believe that we live today in a world from which almost all of the wonder has been drained away. Oftentimes we see religion as a system of rights and wrongs or a pattern of engaging in worship. We tend to have insulated and isolated ourselves from the wonder of it all, from the imagination and the mystery, because it is unimaginable, impractical, and finally useless. But I believe it is precisely that wonder that I'm speaking of for which we hunger for as humans, as we cry out today for something. In the midst of our technological and mechanical and scientific world that we have almost perfected, I find that even my soul is unsatisfied, and I yearn for something more than what's black and white. Don't you yearn and long for that which the wise men went to see? Don't we experience it all around us? Some people flee to Eastern gurus or modern New Age cults. These are evidences of the occult influences in surprising places in our own world today. We're inundated with fantasy literature and movies that have become a major component of our entertainment. We hunger and we long for that mystery. We wish and we yearn for that which is greater than ourselves, for that which outstretches our human grasp. We long for an affiliation with something that transcends the horrors of our technology that has given us under the false promises of salvation. We experience the moral poverty of almost all political and social economic systems. We watch powerlessly as international violence and terrorism explode across our lives. We hear the game playing of our world leaders under the giant shadow of war and terrorism. And we sense that the world is out of control, reeling towards some hideous nuclear or toxic end. And we know that we must reach beyond this world for anything that will give us hope. And beyond this world, there's only the mystery and the wonder of the star that the Magi were seeking. I believe it was Albert Einstein who said the most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. And it is that mystery, that wonder, and that capacity to dream that we celebrate through the story of the wise men at Epiphany. It was the mystery of that awesome light that night that the wise men were shown what transcends all order of their lives and of our lives. It transcends all order, all ethics, all understanding that we have. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do with that light? Being warned in a dream, the wise men decided to go back another way home. Well, so too we can go back another way home. We don't have to go the same way. We can resist the Herods of our time who try to trick us into the cynicism of believing that wonder and dreams and imagination are the venues of children alone and not for so-called grown-ups. Not that the mystery of our imaginations and the wonder of the star is not for people who are practical men and women. You know, contemporary Herods are all around us, and they're very, very smart, but they're not very wise. Contemporary Herods are those people and those institutions and cultural assumptions that kill the childlike wonder of the star in all of us. Herods inside or outside of us always say, you know, it can't be done. There is no way. You can't take a chance. Everything that you do must be useful and it must be efficient, that your imagination is worth nothing, that playing is wasteful. Don't play. Don't follow stars. Don't follow stars. So to help you develop your wisdom, you might just begin by doing something very simple, not grand. For instance, you might take a course in painting. That'll open your eyes up. Somebody, an artist, a real artist, says there's an artist in all of us. She told me that. If you lay on the floor and color in a coloring book with a child, when's the last time you did that? Maybe you should get season tickets to the theater. Or maybe read a book of poetry. Maybe you don't like poetry, but read the words slowly. Or you might study the colors on the skin of an apple. Or you might play like the pansies that are in the front yard in the pot are talking to each other. Or you might look a little longer than usual at your face in the mirror. Not to shave or put makeup on, but to ponder the mystery of yourself and the beauty that is there without putting yourself down. Or you might write down every question that you ever had or you were afraid to ask. Not to search for the answers, but to live in the mystery of the questions that you might have. Or you might get a copy of the photograph of the earth taken from the moon and wonder where we are in the universe. God's creation is so much larger than ourselves, and the wonder and the mystery is out there. So in short, we can decide to pay more attention to all of life. We can decide to listen more to the silence of our lives instead of filling the silence with something else. We can decide not to be so hurried as we embark upon this new year. We can decide not to be so closed, so secular, that we don't even see the star. We don't even look up to see the star shining in the face of our own children and the children of our faith community. The star that is shimmering in the joy and the wonder of every single aspect of creation, if we will but stop and look at the wonder. There was a pastor who returned from a trip to Africa where he had discussed the issue of ordaining women with African bishops who were opposed to the idea. And he made the following observation: their objections seemed to be less theologically based than I had supposed. It was more that they could not imagine a woman in that role. They cannot do what they cannot imagine. That fundamental insight has to do with another way of going back home for wise people. Because the sense and the wonder and the capacity to dream lets us have imagination, and our imagination is future-oriented. It's a creative function that has the ability to take past knowledge and project it into the not yet. In short, what it's saying is to follow a star. We don't really know what it was like for the wise men when they arrived back home. We can only imagine how changed they must have been for seeing the Messiah. But their message at Epiphany is about going home another way. It's about avoiding Herod. It's about avoiding the Herods in our own lives. It's not about the certainties that were given to us, but it's about journeying with joy and wonder in all of creation. It's about dreaming of new futures. It's about following the star of Christ in all of creation. O star of wonder, star of night, star of royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light. In the name of the Father, and in the name of the Son, and in the name of the Holy Spirit. Amen.